Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Aging and Retirement presentation from California Department of Veterans Affairs. My name is Sean Campbell, and I'm one of the teammates working with CalTAP. Today's presentation is on aging and retirement. It's November 30th, 2021. And again, I'd like to welcome everybody for participating in this webinar. Let me start off by saying that this is being recorded, and please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and your consent is required. Participation in the meeting will act as your acknowledgement for the recording. You'll notice that your cameras and your mics are off, and we're doing that to try to make sure that we're maintaining bandwidth and minimizing distractions a little bit. We've got a great group of people coming in today. We've got Lance, we've got Rima, we've got Paul, and they're going to be going over veterans' homes, some cemetery information, and some information about local interagency network coordinators. So it's going to be an awesome hour. At the end of the hour, we're going to put some time aside for questions and answers. So by all means, before that, you'll notice that there is a question and answer box. You're more than welcome to use that. The chat box, we're trying to use the chat box to provide you with resources and information that you can download. So try to refrain from using the chat box. If you got questions and answers, try to drive those towards the actual questions and answer box that you see. Again, my name is Sean Campbell, and I work with the California Transition Assistance Program. I'm one of the training coordinators that work with that team. As for myself, I spent 7 years in the Navy. I'm blessed enough to have, my father was in the Navy. My grandfather was in the Navy. My son decided to do his own thing. He went off and joined the Marine Corps, but you know, he's my oldest one. I got some more, maybe they'll come to the Navy as well. But there's always other branches of service out there that I push them towards as well. I was hospital corpsman for 7 years. I had a great experience. And one of the things I learned is that healthcare is a really important subject, because when we're talking about healthcare, we're not just talking about ourselves, but we're talking about the people around us. And as we get a little older, our needs change. And that's why this presentation is so great, because as we get older, the services and benefits that are out there, my teammates that are going to give you some more information, you'll find that there's some great benefits and services that are available for veterans and their family members. A little bit of information about CalTAP. We're designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras about their earnings and state benefits, as well as provide continued support and assistance, because we recognize that people's needs change over time. We do identify 5 different pathways that try to help guide and drive people in certain directions for information: core curriculum, education, employment. If you want to own your own business, entrepreneurship. And there are a lot of service providers that are networked with the states. We want to make sure that we get you the information for the different service providers that are available as well. The Veterans Resource Book. My teammate's going to make sure to put a PDF copy available for you in the chat. But this is such a dynamic tool for empowerment, for enlightenment, for education, and it's chock full of, we call it a bucket of benefits. It's just chock full of information for service members, for veterans, and for family members. That's it's just a great resource. Absolutely recommend that you take some time and look through this stuff that you've earned. This is our website, calvet.ca.gov. This will allow you to have 24/7 access to information, and it will provide you with information about benefit services, and it will also drive you to our CalTAP website. This, I'm sorry, from the main page, you can again drive to the you can see it circled on the screen right there, our CalTAP web portal. But once you enter the CalTAP web portal, there's a huge archive of videos that you can reference. And then the pathways that we were talking about a little bit earlier. You can also register for My CalVet, and by adding yourself to this registry, you'll get a lot of really good information, and you'll sign up for our monthly newsletter. we do ask that you use a non-DOD email address, so that way we can continue to provide you information, benefits, and services throughout your experience. How can I use CalTAP online? That is a great question. The advantages of using CalTAP online are that the pathways each have core curriculum, education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service providers. Each of these has a wealth of videos. They've got PDF downloads, and it's just a really great tool to enhance your information about the benefits and services that you've earned. If you look into the core curriculum, which is the first set, there are a variety of modules: understanding resilience, healthcare, claims and compensation. Probably the one that gets the most questions is about what specifically are my California benefits. And that's module 5. You can see it's highlighted here. What are my California benefits? The state of California is really motivated to make sure that you understand that there are a wide variety of benefits and services available to you as a service member, as a veteran, and as a family member. So to make sure that you understand that those are out there, the state has set up local interagency network coordinators, links. So they're people that are whose whole role is to make sure that you get the benefits and services that you need, and to hold your hand and walk you through the processes that are out there. Additionally, each county has its own veteran service office. So California is huge. It's got 58 counties, and each county is going to have different needs. And that's why each county has its own veteran service office that's available out there to help you with that, with those extra steps and processes, because sometimes it can be confusing. As I said before, the Veterans Resource Book is a 240-page, that's a lot of information. So having great people like Lance walk you through the whole process, they're out there to help you. And we just want to make sure that you don't just get some random phone number or email address. It's a live human being to really walk with you. The college tuition fee waiver, this is probably the one question that we really get a lot. So for dependents of veterans with service disability ratings of 0 or higher, there is a college tuition fee waiver at any state-funded school, UC, CSU. It handles you throughout your doctorate. There's 4 different categories, so I really recommend that you look into the different qualifiers for that. But this is something that saves the veterans of California at least $35 million a year, and it's for the dependents of veterans with service disability ratings of 0 or higher. California also has some really great DMV programs. The DMV, what they really focus on is making sure that as a veteran, you can have a designation on your driver's license. This removes the need for you to have to carry around your DD-214 with you all the time. And it really does unlock certain employment, housing, consumer, and education benefits that you might not be aware of. For example, I was purchasing a video game for one of my kids at GameStop, and when they asked me to verify my credit card with my driver's license, they saw that I had veteran marked on it, and I was eligible for their veterans discount, which I was unaware of. There's a lot of facilities that do that kind of thing, and having it on your driver's license just makes it that much easier. The DMV also has license plates for honoring veterans. There are 70 different insignias that you can choose from, and it's a program that's open to the general public as well. And all of the funds that go to that go directly back to veteran services. DMV also has a motor vehicle registration fee waiver program. That's for Gold Star and for people who have a mobility disability that's service related. And the DMV's got a lot of information on that as well, if you want to look into it further. California is a beautiful place. We've got mountains, we've got deserts, we've got oceans. There's a lot of hunting and fishing that's out there, and a lot of state parks. Being a veteran and being a service member really does, for Department of Parks and Recreation, there's a Distinguished Veterans Pass, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife has certain days that they set aside just for service members and veterans. And also there's discounts available for veterans with service-related disabilities for hunting and fishing licenses. California has a wide variety of tax programs. I'm not the tax expert, and with 58 different counties, there's so many different rules, but just know that California does have a lot of different programs for tax and fee exemptions. I know personally, a friend of mine owns a business in Sacramento County. He's a veteran. I was having lunch with him a week ago, and he told me specifically that the county waived his business license fee because he is a veteran. Calvet home loans. Calvet home loans are different from a VA home loan. I myself have a VA home loan. I love it. I think it's great. But Calvet home loan can be used with a VA home loan. VA home loan is more of a guarantee for funding, where a Calvet home loan is actual funds on the table. So California is reaching into her pocket, putting money right out there, providing financing for veterans, competitive market rates. In addition to that, it's not a standard loan where you need a credit score. It's something where they actually handwrite your underwriting, and that really does change requirements, especially if you're a business owner. It makes it a little bit easier. But we've got some great information on that. It's something that's in the Veterans Resource Book, and we have some teammates who are experts with the Calvet home loans. So we encourage you to ask more questions about that. There is a Women's Veterans Division, and the Women's Veterans Leadership Council provides information, advocacy, outreach, and support to California's female veterans. There's also an excellent roster, and you can see it's highlighted on this page here with contact information and phone number. This is a roster that as a woman veteran, I would definitely recommend that you sign up for it to get more information on presentations and some of the monthly information that they give out. California also has a division for minority veterans. Its role is to help unnaturalized veterans in California with citizenship, and also provide information, advocacy, and outreach for minority veterans. They estimate that about 47% of veterans are minorities, and they have recognized the fact that sometimes there's a gap for services. So they just want to make sure that everybody is getting that representation that they need. Calvet homes for long-term care. These are homes that provide long-term care for veterans. They offer medical, dental, rehabilitation, social activities. And Paul's going to go over this in more detail when we get to his part of the presentation. But right now, there's 8 locations that California has, and it's some of the premier quality care that's recognized throughout the entire United States as having the highest levels of service. The VA operates cemeteries. However, the state of California also operates cemeteries. There's 3 veteran cemeteries, and Rima's going to give us some more information about that a little bit later in the presentation. So I'll leave that for her. Some common veteran websites that come up. va.gov. This is an excellent tool. va.gov provides 24/7 access for veterans. There's a lot of information here, although they do focus on 4 specific missions, and that's making sure that healthcare benefits national cemeteries and, of course, improve our nation's readiness. But this is one of the websites I definitely recommend that you go through and take a look at for your benefits. Another one that's great is eBenefits. This is actually a joint website from the DoD and the VA. It's a web portal that provides management of your military benefits. If you want to view claims, if you're trying to transfer entitlements, there's a wide variety of things that that you can do on this website. You may notice that if you are navigating through this website, sometimes that might bring you back to va.gov, because they are currently working to combine these 2 websites. And then one of my personal favorites, My Healthy eVet. Working as a hospital foreman for 7 years, I'm really motivated about people's healthcare. And this is just one of those tools that really allows you to track and improve your healthcare. It lets you know about health records. You can send message traffic back and forth with your care providers, schedule appointments, make sure that your pharmacy is on track, on time, and on target. It's just a really awesome tool to help you navigate through your healthcare. In addition to that, they estimate that there's over 18 million pages of medical information that's uploaded to this database. So just a really, really awesome tool. I've said it a couple times during this presentation, but I just want to remind you, try to provide us with a non-DoD email so we can make sure, because your needs are going to change over time, and we want to make sure that we're there to help you throughout that process. My teammate's going to send you a webinar survey, and I do ask that at the end of the webinar today, you take that time to fill out the survey. I also ask that you take that extra moment to explore My CalVet on CalVet's homepage and register. And hey, go to Facebook, give us a like. There's a lot of good webinars that are out there. If you look on your screen, you can see where you can register on calvet.ca.gov with a non-DoD email address. When you register, it'll allow us to send you a copy of our monthly newsletter. Every month has got a different theme, and this month's theme is actually the different services that are available throughout California. It's just a really good overview. And with the different themes, there's different webinars. It'll provide you links, so that way you don't have to try to explore, how do I find more information on this webinar? The themes change every month. It's an excellent source of information, and it's something where we try to make sure that we're looking at the challenges that people are having and how the world's shifting around us, and we're answering with as much information as we can for veterans, for family members, and for current service members. Here is my contact information with our phone number. By all means, if you got any further questions, I'm happy to help you out, and we'll have a good question and answer session at the end of this presentation. I'd like to take a moment to thank Lance, the local interagency network coordinator, for coming on board, and turn you over to Lance.
Hey, thank you so much, Sean. Hope everybody is having a great morning. My name is Lance Junker, and I am the local interagency network coordinator for the San Diego region. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division and was wounded. Went through about 10 months recovery in Army Medical Hospital, and then was later medically retired due to those wounds. And then made my way here to CalVet about a little over 3 years ago, down here in the San Diego region. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what my role is and the others who are in this role in California. So if you look at the next slide, it's a map of California. It's broken into the FEMA disaster relief zones, not necessarily broken down precisely on veteran population, but does an okay job. As you can see, the regions, some of the regions like Coles up in the north are huge geographically, but have less, centralized care and services for veterans. Here in San Diego, we have over 300 different veteran service providers. And it's really, the link's role to get to know their region and be able to help out not only at a federal, VA level or at a state CalVet level, but also at the local and county levels with nonprofit referrals and all kinds of things like that. So, no matter where you are in California, you will have a CalVet representative who lives there in these 8 regions that you can give a call or email to, and they might be able to help you and assist you in getting to know different benefits that you otherwise might not know of. Next slide talks a little bit more about what we do. As I said, provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. So, pre-COVID, we did a lot more community engagement, going out face-to-face, giving briefs, giving talks, really sharing what these CalVet benefits are, because a lot of people are just unaware of all the things that CalVet and California offer. We make a lot of referrals and work directly, with those local groups, nonprofits, government agencies, county offices, county veteran service offices, all that kind of stuff. We really try and work together and assist the veterans as best we can. We also assist with local emergencies. So for us, it's typically, fires and floods, when veterans are displaced, due to these fires and stuff, these local assistance centers are set up, and Link will usually be there manning those, through that time. So you can get help if you do have a CalVet loan. They can assist you with getting that insurance claim processed and all that kind of stuff through Calvet. So that's a great program. Just for that, $250 deductible for total replacement of your structure with a fire or flood. You can't really find that anywhere else. And then also, providing leadership and advocacy to local communities. This looks different depending on the region. Obviously, some regions have more robust structures and systems put into place to serve veterans, and the rural areas are a little bit more challenging to find veterans and get them to help. Next slide. So no matter what it is, whether it's connecting you to benefits that are government, like EDD, having trouble getting a hold of EDD, a lot of us links have some local contacts that might be able to assist you with EDD. Whether it's Calvet, County Veteran Service Offices, healthcare, trying to, having trouble getting an appointment or getting the healthcare that you deserve at the VA. A lot of the links know the directors of the healthcare systems in their regions, and can assist kind of at a higher level, at least getting an inquiry and figuring out, what the issue is. So, whatever it is, definitely reach out to a veteran. We have 8 veteran homes throughout California. They're great establishments, and we all have contacts there as well. So if there's anyone looking to inquire more about those services, Link is a good person to get referred by and get a contact that can help you further. I think the next slide is just my contact information. Feel free to write that down, even if you're not in San Diego. I can get you to the link in your area. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of this brief.
Thank you so much, Lance. That was awesome. I really like what, next is going to be Paul from Yountville Calvet Home.
Hi, Sean, thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Lukert, and as the slide says there, I'm the Veteran Service Officer at the Veterans Home in Yountville. You can go to the next slide. A little bit about me. I am a Calvet employee, but I'm a VA accredited claims representative. So I spend most of my time supporting the residents of the home, some in the local community, and some of our employees with filing their VA claims. So my job is essentially the same thing as your county veteran service officer. My targeted population is the veterans home here at Yountville and the residents here. But like your county veteran service office, I can help with disability benefits, education, all that stuff on the right, vocational rehab, et cetera. Many of the things that we've already talked about today and may talk about later. Next slide. The two big ones that I spend most of my time on are VA compensation and VA pension. Sean had the copy of the Calvet Veterans Resource Book, and I can help a veteran with any of those benefits in there, but I spend the majority of my time filing claims for compensation and pension, which are the two primary monetary benefits that veterans are seeking, but they are different and they're often confused. So a little comparison for those of you that maybe don't quite know the difference is compensation here on the left of your screen is a monthly award related to a disability or an injury that was incurred in service. So it's actually linked to your active military service, whereas the pension is essentially needs-based. So compensation would be for things like a combat injury, like PTSD, even injuries in training or exposure to hazardous chemicals or hazardous noise. Hearing loss is a big one. So again, compensation is for an event or injury that occurred in the service. It's a current disability that can be linked to your active military service. Pension, like I said, also a monthly award, but it's needs-based. Normally, it's for low-income veterans, but medical expenses as we age or as we become more disabled can be used to offset income. So a lot of our veterans that moved into the home here didn't qualify for pension, maybe if they applied in the past because their income was too high. But again, as their medical needs and medical costs increased, they're able to offset their income dollar for dollar with any medical expenses they pay, including your Part B and Part D and stuff that's deducted from your Social Security. So often we have vets that maybe think they didn't qualify because they were denied in the past, but they do qualify now. And it's a big part of my job is to let those vets know that they do qualify for that. So if you think you're in that boat, you probably want to go see your county veteran service officer and see if you now apply, or rather if you now qualify for that benefit, even though if you were denied in the past. Next slide. Just a quick how-to, and you can go to the next slide. If you want to find a veteran service office in your area, I think the easiest thing to do is go to the Calvet website, which you can Google if you don't want to remember that calvet.ca.gov is the website. Next slide. If you just Google Calvet, click on the first link there. Go ahead. And at the top of the banner, I didn't put the circle, but where it says Find Service Provider, you see the Calvet banner. It says Services and Benefits, Find Service Provider. If you click on that, you can enter your zip code. Go ahead and hit the next slide. Next. And I did it for Yountville, for example. So a veteran that lived in Yountville put his or her zip code in there, and you can select the distance. And in this case, I selected 50 miles, and it listed links to 3 county veteran service offices, within that range. So for us, it obviously showed the Napa County because we're located in Napa County, but it also showed Solano and Sonoma. So great resource for you there, right there on the Calvet website if you're having any trouble hooking up or finding a veteran service officer. Next. In terms of a compensation claim, it's kind of an eye chart here, and I apologize for that. But this is basically how the claims process goes. You can when you meet with a veteran service officer, you can file a form that's called an intent to file. That's a VA form 210966. You don't need to remember that. But what that does is it starts your claim process. And from that date, you have a year to file the claim, because step 2 is the evidence gathering. And sometimes it takes us several weeks or even several months to gather the medical evidence that we're going to need to file, particularly a compensation claim. So that intent to file covers you, like I said, for if you filed it today on the 30th of November, you would have until 30 November next year to file your compensation or your pension claim, and you would still be paid back to today. So very important that anytime you meet with a veteran service officer, or if you're doing it on your own online, that if you think you may be inclined to file a claim in the future, that you do that intent to file, because it will save you money. They will retroactively pay you back to that intent to file date, regardless of when you actually file the claim, provided you're within that 12-month window. So the evidence gathering is very important, because like I said, for compensation particularly, pension's a little bit different, but for compensation, remember, we're looking for an injury or an event that happened in the service. So we need to get your service records, we need to get your current medical records, and we need to provide all this stuff to the VA it'll help smooth out the claim process. If we don't, they'll ask for it. But the more that we can give them up front when we file your claim, the smoother the process will go, and the quicker you're likely to get your claim back. So, I kind of have some, is it in your service records? Yes or no? So, yes, obviously you want to gather those records and any medical opinions if they're necessary. Sometimes, for example, the population here at Yountville, it's essentially a retirement home. So most of the veterans are in their 70s or 80s. So last week, for example, I filed a claim for a guy that had an ankle injury. So we got a letter from his doctor that said, yes, the current symptoms he's suffering with his ankle are related to the injury that we found in the service. And so those medical opinion letters are not necessary, but they do go a long way in helping you get the claim awarded. That said, sometimes the event, and I'll use that ankle analogy. Let's say that it's not in the service treatment record. You can still get a letter from a doctor. Let's say that you had arthritis of a joint, and you can describe what you did in the service. And often a doctor may give a medical opinion that the current arthritis suffered in your shoulder or your knee or whatever is, in his or her medical opinion, related to wear and tear in the service. So those are good. We get those for hearing loss a lot. A medical nexus, that says, hey, this former service member was exposed to jet noise or something like I was, and it helps VA when they're going to award the claim. So once you've got all your records, you want to make sure you have an appointment to see a veteran service officer like me or your county veteran service officer, unless you're doing the old self-help on the VA website, which you can do, but I would advise you to see a veteran service officer. After you get the claim actually filed, the VA, if necessary, which is almost always is, will send you for what they call a CMP exam, a compensation and pension exam. And that's where a medical practitioner is going to assess your current disability. They're not there to treat, they're just there to assess. So like I said, if you claim hearing loss, they'll send you for a hearing test. My veteran with the ankle, they sent him to a doctor to check the range of motion on his ankle joint and maybe get an x-ray, stuff like that. And once you've done that and you've attended any exams that the VA schedules, which are very important, if you miss the exams, they will almost certainly deny the claim for compensation. At that point, you've done everything you need to do and you just wait for a decision. Next slide. There are some presumptive disabilities that VA will award. Two of the most popular, for lack of a better term, are presumptive disabilities for Agent Orange and for presumptive disabilities for some veterans that served at Camp Lejeune. Next slide. Here's a list of some of the Agent Orange presumptives. I put a few in red only because those are some of the more common ones I see out here with my population in Yountville. But any of those, if a veteran is suffering from any of these disabilities and he or she served in the Republic of Vietnam, some limited window in Korea, and some also limited in Thailand, and that veteran, particularly I'm talking about the Vietnam veterans, suffer from many of these conditions, the VA will presume that these conditions were caused by Agent Orange. So if you suffer from any of these and you are a Vietnam era vet with service in Vietnam or in the blue waters around Vietnam, you certainly want to file a claim. Next slide. They did add 3 new presumptive conditions to the Agent Orange list earlier this year, and those are bladder cancer, hypothyroidism, and Parkinsonism. So those are 3 additional new presumptive disabilities for Agent Orange exposure. Next slide. Veterans that served at Camp Lejeune from roughly August of '53 to December of '87, there's a list of presumptive disabilities for those veterans as well. And here are some of them: leukemia, bladder cancer, kidney cancer, liver, etc. You can see the list there. But if you did serve at Camp Lejeune from, again, 1953 to 1987, this was due to contaminated water. VA will once again presume that these conditions were caused by your service there at Camp Lejeune. Next slide. There is it's called a health care funding assistance for veterans and some families that lived at Camp Lejeune. And again, there's the dates, August '53 to December '87. So if there's a family member, they can get some funding assistance for healthcare with these conditions that VA once again will presume were caused by that family member's stay at Camp Lejeune. Next. Okay, a little more on VA comp and special comp. Next slide. So VA compensation, they pay on a range, so you are once you are service disabled, you receive an overall rating, and the rating ranges from 0% to 100%. And yes, 0% actually is a rating. It just there's no monetary value associated to that. And the monthly payouts are based on the average impact to earnings that VA determines your disability contributes to. So these numbers, and I didn't list all of them, they pay, at 0% is non-monetary, then they pay 10, 20, 30, all the way through 100. These are last year's numbers. VA just posted this year's numbers. literally this morning, so I did not update the slides. I apologize for that, but I do have those numbers. If anyone's interested, I can certainly tell you. I wrote a couple of them down. I know 10%. Well, everything's going to go up at the same rate as Social Security was increased, so that's 5.9%. So 10% is a little over 152 starting 1 December, so that would be payments in January. 20% will go up to about 301 and change, and 100%, these are for single veterans, no dependents, 3,332. So each of those went up 5.9%. And again, if you need some specifics, you can ask me, or you can go on the VA website. They are posted as of this morning. Special monthly compensation is a little bit extra benefit that VA sometimes awards in addition to your disability rating. And some examples are loss of use, or if a veteran is housebound, or aid and attendance. And they're just additional monetary compensation on top of your standard VA disability compensation. Next slide. Okay, non-service connected pension, next. Again, needs-based, typically veteran over age 65 or disabled. If you're over 65, you automatically qualify for the age basis. If you're under 65, you need to be disabled. And usually if you're receiving disability from Social Security under the age of 65, you would qualify. There is a service commitment of 24 months with at least 90 days during a period of war. So pension is for wartime veterans. And that 24-month rule only applies if you serve after September 7th, 1980. For vets that served before 1980, they would have just had to serve 1 day during a period of war. For Guard and Reserves, the 24-month also doesn't apply, but you have to have served for the full period you were called to active duty. So if you were called to active duty for, say, 6 months and you serve that full period, you too would qualify, provided, again, that you meet the age or disability requirements as well. Next. Pension needs-based. Typically, it's based on income, and these numbers are from last year, so these will go up a little bit, but typically for a single veteran making below last year, just a little bit under 14,000, like I said, that'll go up 5.9%. For a veteran with one dependent, it was 18,243, and VA counts all income. So if a veteran is married, they're going to count the income of the veteran and the spouse. But medical expenses can offset this dollar for dollar. So a lot of our veterans that live out here, that live in our skilled nursing up the hill, they actually get to deduct their rent, for example, as a medical expense. So anyone living in a nursing home, that would be a medical expense. Any co-pays or monies you're doling out for prescription medication, for health insurance, and many others. VA has a long list, and you can see that at the va.gov website, but medical expenses will come off dollar for dollar. So make sure you're itemizing that stuff when you're applying for pension. There is a net worth limiter. They call it the bright line limit for pension. So it's currently, for last year through today, 130,773, and that'll go up again 5.9%. But I haven't seen them post that number yet. I think it's going to be around 138,000 net worth. You have to be below that to qualify for pension. And there are some other little intricacies in there, but that's in a nutshell. You need to have assets less than 130,000. Limits are increased each year, again, by the same percentage of Social Security, and this year that is 5.9%. Aid and attendance, go ahead. Aid and attendance is on the pension side, is an additional monetary payment on top of the pension award. For this past year, it was $776 of additional money awarded to a veteran that is either blind or nearly blind, or in most cases out here at the home anyway, that needs the aid of another person to perform everyday functions such as dressing, cleaning, feeding, adjusting prosthetics, etc. A patient in a nursing home would automatically qualify for aid and attendance as well. But you do need medical evidence to prove this. But VA has forms for those purposes. You would take it to your doctor, he or she would fill it out, and you would submit that with your pension claim. Next. There is a survivor's pension and something called DIC, which is dependency and indemnity compensation. Next slide. So these are benefits for, they're similar to VA pension, but they're for the surviving spouse or in some cases children. Very low income. Last year, that number was income below $9,344 for the surviving spouse. And again, VA counts all income. So if there's any other pension or Social Security, et cetera, it's all counted. And they use that same bright line net worth limiter for the survivor's pension. DIC is a slightly higher rate of pension. It's really like compensation for the surviving spouse. And it's paid to the spouse of a veteran who died from a service-connected disease. For example, if a veteran had service-connected heart disease and he or she died from that, the spouse could be entitled to DIC because the veteran died of a service-rated condition. And it's a higher rate than service pension. It currently, for this past year, would pay up to $1,357 a month. And you could get A&A or housebound benefits on top of that as well. Next. Go ahead, next slide. If you are filing a claim, you're always going to need a DD-214 anytime you're seeking any VA benefit. But you may also want your service medical records. And you can get these from the National Archives website. You can request them right online. You just go there and click, where it says DD-214. There's a little form that comes up. You tell them what you need, and send it off, and they'll send you your medical records or a nice clean copy of your DD-214. Yeah, next. Healthcare, always a big one. Go ahead, next slide. Eligibility for VA healthcare is similar to pension. You have to have served for 24 continuous months or the full period to which you were called to active duty. And again, if you served before September of 1980, the 24-month rule does not apply. Next. Enrolling in healthcare, very easy. You can do it by phone. You can do it in person at your local VA healthcare clinic, or you can apply online at va.gov. Next. Right there, this is the va.gov, the front page of the website. You see healthcare, that block sort of in the middle left, and you click apply, and you will be off to the races in applying for your VA healthcare. Next. Sorry about that. Like I said, anytime you're applying for any VA benefit, you're going to need your DD-214. For a VA healthcare, they're going to need income information or a copy of your tax returns, and they're going to want information about any current healthcare insurance that you do have. All of it can be done online. It can all be done over the phone as well. But if you insist, VA does still have a form for that. It's called a 1010 EZ, and you could download that form and mail it in if you wish. Next. All right, that's my final slide. There's my contact information. If you need to see me, I'm happy to take calls from y'all. And again, if you think you are thinking about filing a claim for disability compensation or pension or any other state or federal benefit, you can call or come see me or email me, or I would certainly encourage you to reach out to your local county veteran service office for the same type of help that I can provide. So I'll stick around for questions. I thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was a lot of awesome information. Next up, we have Rima, who's going to talk about cemeteries and burials. Thank you, Rima, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Basically, I work as a government analyst here at the Seaside, California's Central Coast Veteran Cemetery, which is one of 3 cemeteries that CalVet runs here in the state of California, and we run this in partnership with the VA, which funds the allowances for our veterans to gain burial benefits. A little bit about me and my role. I am a prior Army veteran, and I served mostly as a reserve officer for about 12 years, and I served in Kuwait. And I've been here with the state for about 5 or 6 years, but only with CalVet for about about a year, maybe a little bit over, but I'm happy to be here. I get this great opportunity to assist our veterans and their families with some of the great benefits that they have. Be able to make plans and consider, where they would like to ultimately come to rest. And so we're part of the Veteran Services Divisions that that gives those benefits and helps those families out. Next slide. So as already mentioned, this website with CalVet will have a lot of resources that are available for our veterans and families, and you'll find a lot of great links to VA resources, and of course, the VSOs, as have been mentioned before, are a great resource. We work very well hand in hand with our local VSO offices to help assist our veterans to make sure that they get the information that they need, also the assistance in getting records or applying, and any other questions they might have in consideration of burial benefits. Next slide, please. So as I stated, we work in concert with the Veterans Administration to connect the veterans with the services and all sorts of entitlements. There are a range of benefits that the veterans have access to, primarily the benefit of burial. And to tell you a little bit more about that process, every entitled veteran has the entitlement of one free burial, and that includes the spouse and the dependent. And so, we work with the VA allowances in order to have this cemetery here, and also up in Igo, which is in Shasta County, and in Yountville, which is in Napa County. These three cemeteries provide benefits for any entitled or eligible veteran from all over the United States and even overseas. Next. So we establish eligibility very similarly as the VA does. We do have our own application process, but like I said, the criteria is basically the same. The eligibility, basically the veteran will have died either in active duty service or has been called to active duty. And prior to the year of, I think, September 1980, any amount of active duty service besides active duty for training would make a veteran eligible for burial benefit. And this does include the spouse and a minor child. They would have to be under the age of 21 for the child dependent or in the legal care of the veteran. And so, the veteran, the spouse, and the dependent can all be interred in the same grave site. There's more information about the criteria for finding out if your child is eligible or spouse on the website. It gives you a little bit more of an overview, more detail. However, if you have any questions as to whether your spouse or dependent would be eligible, you can feel free to give us a call also directly, and we'll help you through that criteria process and try to establish that eligibility right away. Next slide, please. So the burial benefits are extended to eligible veterans, which is a burial and plot. We have a columbaria, which are all a wall of niches that will allow interments of urns, and then we also have in-ground urns, and then now we just recently started in-ground casket burials. So we're a small cemetery here in Seaside. IGO is much larger, and they've been providing these services for much longer. But here we've been here since 2016, and we're growing. We have a lot of happy veteran families here, knowing that they can have their loved ones interred here in a very beautiful place, very peaceful. And it's just been a really great thing for us to happen down here in Monterey County, with any hopes there might be one, that they'll put in down in Southern California. At least that's hopefully in the plans. Anyhow, this burial benefit will also furnish the eligible veteran with a headstone or marker. We call it a monument. The monument will depend on a headstone or marker for a niche cover, depending on if it's an urn burial or if it is an in-ground burial of casket or urn. And that marker and headstone is part of the benefits. There's no charge for that. The types of headstones we have here are granite headstone. They follow a similar format as the one in the VA. They have a couple of different types, but we here use the granite monument on the niches, and we use the headstone markers for all in-ground burials. We do have bronze memorial markers up in IGO. I don't have them here down in Seaside, but the memorial markers are only available right there, up there in Reading. And for more information, please do contact the IGO Cemetery for answering those questions. Next slide. So every veteran, eligible veteran, is entitled to one free burial and one burial flag. And this also is part of the whole funerary honors benefit that we provide our veterans. Similarly to the VA, that entitlement basically promises that 2 or more uniformed service members from each branch, from the branch of the veteran, will come and present honors by playing taps and folding and presenting a burial flag to the next kin. For those who have retired with the Army and other special conditions, there is a rifle team, a firing team that we will help to request services. So they'll come and they will do a 7-gun salute or a 7-shot salute, and that's again for retired military. But at the very least, there would be we would request the military branch to come out and present the military burial flag to the next of kin and play the taps. And it's a really beautiful and moving ceremony that every veteran is entitled to. Next slide, please. So these are the 3 current Calvet cemeteries. The one here that I work in is in Seaside, which is Monterey County. We're just north of the peninsula, so you'll find us here right between Seaside and Marina. Then we also have the cemetery in Uneville, which is in Napa Valley. That cemetery basically serves the veterans that reside there in Uneville. I don't believe that they inter anyone outside of that organization. However, IGO in our northern cemetery has been here for a very, very long time, and they have been interring decades. So here in Seaside, we're fairly new, so we're small, but we have 78 acres that we will be definitely, accommodating, those veterans that wish to come here. Also, just to kind of mention, we do celebrate the holidays, and not just Christmas, but Veterans Memorial Day. We have our partner organizations come out and volunteer and present, and it's a great time to come out to the cemetery to meet the organizations that make this all possible. This year on the 20th of December, we have Wreaths Across America, which is a great time to come. Our partner, our volunteers come out and they lay wreaths, against every monument, and it's just a really great time to come and just visit our veterans and appreciate having this cemetery here, and wishing our families well. Next slide. We are not directly related to the national cemeteries. We do work with the cemeteries, national cemeteries in the areas. When our veterans and our veterans' families apply for eligibility, and they apply for that eligibility, they're not obligated to come and be interred here. They may choose to be interred elsewhere. National cemeteries, like I said, have a different application than we do, but it's basically the same criteria, and oftentimes families will decide to move from a national cemetery to a state cemetery, especially since we were newer, and the opportunity to have loved ones come a little bit closer to home. So, but we do work with the local national cemeteries as well. Next slide. Okay, so as I had mentioned, the first step of getting eligibility as a veteran for burial benefits is by filling out an application. We have our own eligibility application that you can access from the website. If you are looking to be eligible for national, you'll also fill out their form. But for us, basically to get started, you want to fill out the VSD 002, which is simply our eligibility application. That application will have directions as to what types of documents you'll need to submit. If you are submitting for not just yourself, but your spouse, you're going to want to make sure that you include a marriage license. If, let's say, the family is applying on behalf of the veteran who might have passed, then the death certificate likely will also name the spouse as the spouse, the dependent. So there is many ways to establish that eligibility. We provide a letter of eligibility with both the veteran and dependent's names. We keep them on file here. So pre-burial, it may remain here on file for years until that time, but otherwise, the process of interring or scheduling a burial service would start with the passing of a veteran or a veteran's dependent, and a death certificate will basically initiate the process. We contact the family, we help them through the scheduling of the date of interment, and if necessary, help with their funeral organization that they're working with. Next slide. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We basically assist the families here to apply. We keep an archive of all of the applications until that time comes that either the veteran or the spouse needs to be interred, and we assist those families at that time with any of their questions and that's about everything. If you have any questions, of course, give us a call directly. The number on our screen is we're a 4-person office. So basically you can get information almost immediately, but also feel free to email us at our website for any information. We'll promptly return all inquiries, and that's about everything. And I thank you for having me, and hopefully we will see our veterans and families out here, especially during our Veterans and Memorial Day and Wreaths Across America's holidays. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rima. That's a lot of great information that you had for us. So just to have a look back on our webinar today, there's some contact information for myself, my teammates, for Lance, for Paul, and for Rima. Their phone numbers and their direct email addresses, again, are up there. And if you have some more questions, we can make sure to put them in the chat as well. Upcoming webinars that you might find some interest in. College of the Canyons has a healthcare one on the 1st. Palomar College has webinars on the 8th and the 9th at different times. So that way we can find the time that would maximize the accessibility for yourself. And on the 7th and the 14th of December, CalVet Programs has a great overview. So there are 2 different presentations with different information, and it just gives a general overview of a lot of the benefits and services that are out there available for you. Really encourage you to attend those. Again, those are on the 7th and the 14th. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank all of you that are on active duty. I want to thank the veterans. And of course, I want to thank the family members, because there's a lot of hard work that goes into each part of the dynamics for that trifecta. Our contact information for CalTAP and our 1-800 phone number is there. I'm going to turn this over to my teammate, Derek, who is going to be available to answer some questions that you may have. Derek, are there anything in the questions and answers section that you'd like to go over and share with us?
Yeah, Sean, thank you. So there's been several questions that have come in. Some of those have been answered on the spot. And I think there's still some people are actively answering those questions, but if we didn't get to answer them, I guess we can take some time to run through them real quick. One of the questions I wanted to address directly that I think would just be better to hold off on due to the typing purposes is in relation to the college fee waiver. We actually got a really good question regarding this. The question was, if a claim is under the appeal process, right? So the veteran doesn't have a disability rating. So technically they would not be eligible for the fee waiver. But the question was, after that appeal has come back, after a 24 months of resolution, does CalVet grant reimbursement for fee waivers for tuition? According to the California Education Code, CalVet does not have the authority to retroactively pay back any tuition. The one nuance to this circumstance would be that student would still need to apply for the fee waiver for each one of those academic years while the veteran is going through the claims process. If they do have a denial letter from the county for those academic years, they can apply for approval for those academic years through the appeals process. And then they would have to basically work that out with the learning institution for reimbursement. So CalVet does not directly reimburse, but the most important thing from that is that the student still needs to apply and actually receive a denial for those academic years. So unfortunately, if you don't have a denial letter, I don't believe there's anything you can do in that regard, but that's just a future FYI going forward for anybody listening. If you are in the appeals process and your student does want to apply for the waivers, to please still apply and receive a denial letter in writing, so that way you can formally appeal the decision as well. So I hope that answered the question. And I guess we can take the time to just for time purposes, maybe we can just read the remainder of the questions out loud, and then maybe the appropriate person can just kind of answer that on the spot. So I'm just going to do a quick run through of the open questions that we still have. And I think maybe Paul or Lance would be best suited to answer some of these questions. The question was from Dorian: what happens if you're getting mobilized and currently getting VA compensation? I think Paul is in the process of tackling that question, but Paul, would you like to maybe just address that question real quick out loud?
Yeah, can you repeat the question? I was typing something.
I'm sorry. The question is, what happens if I'm getting mobilized and currently getting VA compensation? I guess the question is, can you receive both at the same time?
Okay. Yeah, so you can't receive compensation while you're on active duty. So that veteran would need to contact the VA and let them know, hey, I'm going on active duty at such and such a date, and I want to waive my, my compensation for that period. And there is a form to do that. I haven't done it. I don't know the form specifically. So in one of the answers, I think that guy asked 2 questions. In one of them, I advised him to go see his county veteran service officer, or maybe even just call the VA 800 number and say, hey, here's the situation. I'm going on active duty. I need to waive my comp. It should be a pretty simple process.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. The next question was more specifically related to occupancy as far as the veterans' homes themselves. Do you have any information, maybe Paul or anybody else, as far as the type of units that are available and the occupancy availability, more specifically like single occupant rooms, specifically at the veterans home, or at least what they can do to find out more information about residency and the application process for homes themselves?
Right. So this is Paul again. So if you go to the CalVet website and follow the links to the veterans homes section of that, under the application process, there is a link at the bottom of the page that shows the waiting lists for the current homes. So it doesn't show the occupancy levels, but it does show the average wait time for the various levels of care, which are, longer, dependent on what type of level of care the veteran needs. So a veteran, for example, that needs to go into memory care, that wait is probably going to be several years until a vacancy is open. Whereas a veteran that is ambulatory, going to live independently, sometimes those vets can get in as little as 6 months. The website right now is showing 1 year. Actually, for Barstow, it's showing no waiting at all for residential. 1 year at Yountville and about 1.5 years down at Chula Vista. So that information is on the CalVet Vet Homes website. And I did put the link in one of the answers I typed. I can share that again, I guess.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for that info, Paul. Really appreciate it. So just kind of pushing through one question about having a copy of the slide deck. If you'd like to reach out to us directly for any follow-up information, please send us an email to that CalTAP address, and then we can send you any supporting documents or anything from this webinar today. One more request for the Veterans Resource Book, again, in the chat. If we could just link that one more time in the chat so people can have that. This webinar is going to be recorded as well, as Sean said earlier. So we are going to post that on our website shortly after the presentation. It does take a little bit as well, but we can send you a link if you'd like to have one directly. And I think there's like some some specific claim questions regarding statuses of claim, kind of more personal situations. So I think it would be better to just kind of hold off on answering those specifically. But if you would like to reach out to your county veteran service office, I believe we've put a link in the chat to how to reach a VSO directly. So they can look more into your actual claims process and kind of see where your claim is at in relation to your rating and the turnaround time specifically on your claim. So I think that's about all the time that we have time for today. But if you want to follow up with anybody directly or specifically, we'll be happy to take all the time needed to speak with you individually. So that's all of our contact information, all of our training coordinators, Lance's info. as well as Paul and Rima. So please feel free to reach out to any one of us and we can take all the time as needed to address any other additional questions you have. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek. And again, I want to just take a moment to thank everyone for attending the Aging and Retirement Seminar today on the 30th of November. This contact information is listed below, and please take a moment to fill out those surveys when you get them. We really do appreciate it. It helps us to drive the information in the right direction and make sure that we're meeting your needs, because we recognize that needs do change over time. I hope that everyone has a great day and a great holiday season. And with that being said, I'll end the webinar now, and thank you for your participation.